To the Moon is a very special game for so many reasons. The most important one for me is the following. While some of the Telltale games manage to evoke strong emotions like anger, frustration and helplessness, To the Moon is the only game I ever played that made me so very sad. But let's first get the basic data out of the way. The game was developed in 2011 by a small indie dev called Freebird Games, using the RPG Maker engine. It is basically a point-and-click adventure, but it looks like a Square game on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. When I reached the ending credits, I realized that one person called Ken Gao more or less made this game on his own. It's his concept and writing, and he worked with a few others on every aspect of the game. Even the music is mostly composed by him. This segment is gonna be short. You control the main characters with your mouse and on very little occasions use the directional keys and space to mix it up. The game controls clunky and sluggish, but that is not at all an indicator of quality simply because it doesn't really matter in this game. There is no combat, there is only exploration, some puzzles and the great interactive story. The tropes and the graphics in the style of 16-bit era JRPGs put players like me who grew up with the NES and SNES games in a fuzzy nostalgic high that is only affected negatively by the 640x480 resolution. You can play in full screen with huge black borders or by pressing Alt and Enter in windowed mode. When I first started the game, I was put off by the resolution and the fact that you cannot change it, but I can only urge you to keep playing. There are a few workarounds, I believe, but what worked best for me is entering windowed mode and using Windows' native magnifying tool, which is triggered by pressing the Windows and plus key and then centering on the game's window. The pixel art is nice, the character sprites and environments all have a distinctive and interesting character, and some places in the world, namely the ones where important parts of the story take place, are very beautiful. Laura Shigihara and, as mentioned earlier, Ken Gao are responsible for the soundtrack. You probably know Shigihara's work from other game music, the Plants vs. Zombies soundtrack for example. To the Moon's music consists mainly of classical arrangements, with some synthesizers sprinkled in here and there, but most of it is very piano-centric. The songs are memorable, emotional and really well written, and perfectly fit the atmosphere of the game. Now if you haven't played To the Moon yet and are thinking about it, stop listening to this and just play it! Going into it with as little knowledge as possible is the best thing you can do to thoroughly enjoy it. At the heart of all this is its unique story. It is hard to really talk about this game without spoilers, but let me introduce to you the situation our heroes find themselves in. Dr. Eva Rosaline and Dr. Neil Watts work as a team for Sigmund Corporation, using technology to alter the memories of dying people who wish their life would have taken a different turn or two. The protagonist's new objective is to alter Johnny Wilde's memory to fulfill his dream of traveling to the moon. Rosaline and Watts enter at his last memory and travel backwards through his life to his earliest memories, where they try to implement the urge to become an astronaut, to change his complete memories from there on, and therefore his perception of his own life. But as it turns out, things aren't as easy as they seemed in the beginning. Wilde's dead wife, River, plays a big role, for example, and Watts and Rosaline have to figure out how everything is connected and what they need to do to complete their job. Now, this story is in equal parts sci-fi and romance, maybe with a little mystery here and there, and it has a lot of unexpected twists and turns to offer and had my full attention from start to finish. Ken Gao forged a detailed world with strong and likable characters, and I quickly became emotionally invested in all of them, and it really got to me to see the harsh reality of life as we all know it burn its marks into their lives. I spent roughly 3 to 4 hours completing the game and enjoyed it immensely. The premise is philosophically thought-provoking and the story arc well thought out and executed and presented in the perfect length and good pacing. Dr. Watts' referential nerd humor is a welcome counterpoint to the emotional roller coaster story and gives it all some self-awareness when the cheese starts to drip almost too hard to bear. If at any point in time neuroscience could change the memories of a life that has already been lived fundamentally, it's basically time travel. For that person, there would be no difference, and what a great idea that is to me as a sci-fi fan. I guess Ken Gao's main motives in coming up with the story had to be of a philosophical nature though. Existentialistic ideas permeate the whole game, and the hedonistic paradox came to mind when I thought about the fact that wishes and goals very often lose their appeal as soon as you have achieved them. It's probably the same with the Sigmund Corporation. Their efforts are futile in the end, because fulfilling someone's wish doesn't necessarily mean he will find more happiness than he had in his actual life. And then there is the question of sacrifice. In order to forge new memories, old ones have to go. What is it that actually makes a life worth living and happy? And who's able to decide that? Sometimes happiness can only be achieved by unforeseen measures and through secondary circumstances. And after all, the ending isn't more important than any of the points leading up to it, to quote the game itself. So, Mr. Ken Gao, I can see a TV series in the near future. Rosaline and Watts played by Candice McClure and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, or maybe even Michael Cera just for the lulz. I can even provide you with the name. Billions of lighthouses stuck at the end of the sky. I would watch the living hell out of that.